To the Game podcast presented by FLUIX LLC. Today we have a great show for all you gaming enthusiasts out there. Many of us go to college to further our education. What if you're itching to play some competitive sports while you're there? We'll be covering collegiate gaming experience in Central Florida with some awesome guests today on our podcast.
Before we get to our guest, we are your hosts. My name is Abhi, and this is
Nick.
Awesome. Today we have some special guests on our show. We would like to welcome the founders of Esports at UCF. We have Daniel, who's the general manager, and we have Scott, who's the secretary. How's it going, you guys?
How about yourself?
Doing amazing. Thank you guys so much for bearing with us. throughout this whole thing.
You're fine.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you guys. We've been hearing a little bit more about esports at UCF. I know you guys are fairly new in the space of things in Central Florida, but I'd love to learn a little bit more about the team that's behind the organization. So if you guys want to take a couple of seconds to introduce who you really are and what you guys do, I'm sure our audience would love that.
Okay. I'll go first then. My name's Scott Whittle. I'm the current secretary. I'm also a player for the League of Legends team, and I make the graphics for our Twitter, along with some other talented people that we just picked up. And I basically hold the glue together with us in sport clubs.
Nice.
Awesome.
My name is Daniel Vinokurov. I'm the general manager at Esports at UCF. I'm going into my junior year of computer engineering. I'm also the Rainbow Six A-team player. I'm the up-and-coming captain for our A-team. And I basically manage all of our teams, all 16 teams that we're going to have, and keep them together, make sure everything's flowing smoothly.
Wow, that's a pretty big organization that you guys are dealing with over there, you guys. It's surprising that, UCF doesn't wear you guys on their backs yet, you know what I mean? With everything that's going on. But I'm so glad that you guys are with us. If people don't know, the audience doesn't know, Nick and I we graduated from UCF fairly recently. So if you guys cut us open right now, we probably bleed black and gold as much as you guys do. Too bad we won't be having tailgates coming into the fall, or maybe, I don't think so at this point.
Probably not.
Yeah, too much.
Don't believe so, no.
Too much rubbing shoulders, right, Nick? At the tailgates.
Might be too close. Yeah.
All right. Well, before we get into learning a little bit more about Esports UCF and the Central Florida Collegiate gaming experience, we have some recent news. Nick, do you want to take it over from here?
Sure. Just some real quick news for you guys. 75 million players are in Warzone. That's pretty crazy. That's a lot of people,
It's
right?
freaking insane, bro.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's a popular game, but right? 75 million? Somebody's grandma. That's what's happening.
Someone's grandma is probably playing it. Yeah. I'll give you that.
Epic Games lawsuits with Apple and Google Play Store. That's pretty crazy, right? I mean, I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like this. And I mean, it's obviously some huge companies involved. And I mean, I guess they're really setting the stage for some stuff that, is probably going to be a big deal.
Well, yeah, I completely agree with you. Epic Games, I mean, we don't want to spread any misinformation here, you guys, in the State of the Game podcast, but we want to take this opportunity to talk a little bit more about why this came up. You know what I mean? As far as Epic Games and their V-Bucks, the currency that they're trying to spread out, it's pretty insane that Apple doesn't like that, and it actually goes against Apple's contract with Epic as far as hosting games like Fortnite, of course, which is one of the most popular games on this planet. So this is pretty insane. It's kind of like the David and Goliath story, but Epic Games is pretty huge too, but Apple is just massive. I mean, Scott, Daniel, do you guys have any thoughts on this? Have you guys kept up with the story?
I've seen a little bit. I actually saw recently Google removed him from their Play Store.
Really?
Well.
Yep.
Yeah.
They got removed from both app stores.
Yeah, very recently. So
I think it was yesterday night.
Damn.
I don't know much about it, much more in detail, but it's a little bit wild that they're removing Fortnite.
It's particularly huge, of course, in mobile gaming, where, I mean, we were seeing numbers surge so much. And then
Right.
all of a sudden you take off a key game like this. I mean, it's a pretty big deal. I mean, not that I have a phone that I'm, itching to play that on, but for somebody, it's probably oh my God, I can't get to it.
What do you think is the end goal for both of these parties?
I mean, I feel like Epic probably has something up their sleeve. There's a reason why they did this. They probably know ahead of time that they could, and there's a reason why. So their lawsuit probably has something in there that they know that Apple and Google didn't pay attention to.
I don't see how Epic Games loses it.
Okay.
Considering there are plenty of other apps that have like the same type of currency model inside, so I don't
Gotcha.
see how they can remove just one without like removing like TFT Mobile for League, which uses Riot Points, which is the same kind of system.
This is pretty insane that they're going up against it, but you guys might be right.
Last news piece was the U.S. Army returns to Twitch following controversies on user bans, which is interesting. I mean, it's hot subject. You know, I don't have too much of a take on it, but I think it is interesting. You know.
Right. You told me. I remember when we were talking about this earlier. As far as the U.S. Army on Twitch, as a means of the U.S. Army recruiting young recruits into the armed forces, and they were using Twitch as a medium to do so, or they might have, and that might be the reason why Twitch wasn't a fan of the U.S. Army being on there. What do you guys think about that? Did you guys hear about this?
Yeah, I heard about it a bit. I think it's a little bit messed up.
Okay.
Only because of the way it was organized. It was like under the guise of like a giveaway or something.
Oh,
what I read.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's like they're back. It's like whatever. I guess I don't know. They're gonna come back and stream regardless. Like they're gonna get trolled a lot in the like Twitch chat, but they don't care.
That's smart on their end, man. They know what demographic to go up and recruit from. And it's funny, is Twitch let them back in? Why do you guys think Twitch let them back on the platform? What was the whole reasoning?
Well, I mean, knowing Twitch is that they wouldn't turn down such a big opportunity. We're having the U.S. Army streaming on their platform, using their numbers, having that. There's also probably no legal backing towards Twitch having to remove them, although we know Twitch has previously done a lot of things that don't really make sense. But it doesn't really make sense for them to remove them just because of this. It is shady from the U.S. Army, but there's not much they could do, really.
This is interesting. You guys bring up. We all hone to the elephant in the room. I mean, it's pretty old news now, but Dr. Disrespect, right? I mean, everyone's talking about it. We don't know what's going on yet. I personally love Doc and his content, but we're all itching to know what the hell happened. What do you guys think on that, real quick, before we move forward? I just want to know your thoughts.
I think it's some legal issue. I don't think it's much more than a legal disagreement. I don't know. I'm just in the dark as everybody else.
Gotcha.
He definitely knows why, but he just doesn't want to say it publicly. As well as Twitch hasn't told him, apparently. Legally, they haven't told him, but he probably knows the reason for it.
Dang.
It has to be a legal reason. I don't see why there would be anything else.
When he came back, I think it was about 2.5 weeks ago, 500,000 people tuned into that stream. A comeback story, if you will. I mean, controversy breeds attention. But then I don't want to misinterpret this information, but I believe Shroud came back recently, and he killed that previous score that Dr. Disrespect set as far as how many viewers. Is that correct, you guys?
So they,
Yeah, go ahead,
I believe Shroud had the maximum viewers or concurrent viewers, and Twitch is a little. Twitch and YouTube both have like problems computing the numbers like on that definite time. But the highest recorded number that he has was around 519,000 for Shroud. For Doc, it was around 517,000, I think. So
Damn.
they were both really high up there. They were both the same, pretty much. I do believe Shroud had a little bit more, but either way, they both had crazy numbers.
Damn. Well, maybe one day, Nick, we can reach those numbers, right? All right, guys. Well, that's the end of recent news. If that's cool with you, Nick, we're going to go ahead and move on to the interview, getting to know our awesome guests here today. I'm going to go ahead and start with the question. You guys are part of an amazing organization, Esports at UCF. For somebody who doesn't know what esports is, for audience members who don't know what it is, could you guys explain what esports is?
Do you want to go, Danny, or do you want me?
It's up to you. You could go. I'll just
Okay, I'll go ahead. So basically, in technical terms, esports is like electronic sports, but it's really just competing in video games. You can compare it to how colleges play, specifically collegiate esports, colleges play in their leagues where you have the American Athletic Conference and whatnot. We'll have collegiate leagues where our teams play in like CSGO, PUBG, Rocket League, Rainbow Six, and all of our other games. There are a lot more other titles, but we play in just 8. It also comes down to just like playing video games competitively. You can be playing an esport without actually competing on a team. Like League of Legends is an esport, but you don't need to play on a team to be like number 1 rank in the world or number 1 rank in the server nation.
Gotcha.
Because we're separated on regions and servers like Korea, China, Europe, and all that stuff.
It's a world. I mean, it's a world revolution, right? I mean, it's insane. Like, if you think about it, 20 years ago, we should have seen this thing coming, right? Like, everyone should have seen it coming. And now, I mean, you guys are athletes in the space, so it's pretty cool that you guys are in the front lines of it. I'd love to talk a little bit more about your organization, Esports at UCF. You guys are based out of the University of Central Florida. Why do you think Central Florida is a good area, or I guess a good breeding grounds for your organization? What do you?
Yeah. So there's a lot of reasons. Well, first of all, our university is based here, obviously. But the biggest thing is it's the heart of Florida. Everybody knows Central Florida. It's literally in the middle. Apart from Miami, obviously, but everybody knows of Orlando or some area within here, Central Florida, Disney, something like that. So there's a lot of people. There's a lot of interest, tourism. There's a lot of students as well, since UCF is 60,000 students and counting every single semester, pretty much. And it's very easy to find people that are stuck at home, not doing anything, and having 60,000 students. Out of 60,000, you're bound to have a couple players that are outstanding or prodigies or excel at a game. And so based on that, you have a wide pool to pick out of to make good teams. And that's why, as shown and with obviously our statistics, that our teams are the best in the nation. We've got our CSGO team just recently got first place in Collegiate Star League, so they won nationals. Our Rocket League team was number 4, I believe, last year, in the Psionic sponsored one. Our Rainbow Six team, so my team has been ranked number 1 seed for the past 3 semesters or 4 semesters. Our Overwatch team has been top 16 in the nation for the past 2 years as well. Our teams have constantly been competing, been the top of the nation, and it's shown how many people are interested here in Florida.
Damn. That's insane, you guys. What you guys have, the level of play that you guys have been playing at. Like, if me and Nick tried out, and I don't think we can because we're not students anymore, I'm pretty sure we get decimated.
Beaten by like somebody in grade school. I guarantee. I'm not very.
Well, that's amazing that you guys are playing at such high level of play. I'd love to know, as far as your organization and your athletes, what kind of training regimen do you guys go through? I mean, are you guys up there for like 12 hours a day, like with your teams? I mean, how do you guys organize everything like that? And how do you guys train for a tournament?
I can give perspective from League.
Yeah, I can give perspective from Rainbow.
Yeah,
Right,
it
cool.
varies. It varies team to team or game to game, team to team, because practice is a little bit different. But for the most part, it consists of solo practice, like playing ranked, like playing on the ranked ladder for hours. Then you'll have like scrims, so just like scrimmages against another like team from anywhere, another university, another like amateur team. They don't need to be collegiate as long as they're a good team. But specifically for League, I know we would do 2 scrim blocks a week. One block being about 3 hours. It's about 3 games, and then we would do VOD review. We would pick a day to do VOD review for both of the scrims, and that would last about like 4 hours. And then on top of that, you would do solo practice. So that's like, I play a lot more than the average on my team. So I'd play when I had the time and I wasn't busy with school, I'd play 6 to 8 games a day, which is like on average they'll last about 35, 40 minutes. So
Dang.
it's a lot of time,
Yeah.
specifically for League. But
That's insane. You know, real quick before we go over Daniel, I tried out for. I mean, it's kind of the same thing, but you guys get the idea. I tried out for my middle school basketball team. Shout out to Discovery Middle School in Alabama. But I tried out for my basketball team, and we were running suicides. So you know, the coach was having us run suicides and everything like that. Get my sweat up. Can you talk a little about more of that, like the real parallels between, you know, physical sports and then you know, esports as well?
uh, direct parallels. We obviously have set practice times, so
Right.
we like with our league team we set Tuesday, Thursday from I believe it was 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. was our practice time. That's when we played our scrims. Because there isn't like a great way to practice. Like if I would like when I played soccer, we would practice and we would just run drills. We would do like inter team scrimmages, like et cetera, et cetera. But for specifically for solo training, instead of like lifting weights or something, I might be watching a professional play and draw parallels from his play to my play, testing it in game and whatnot. It's a lot more mental exertion than physical. So we have to think more of like, how can I get better? Because once you're like at the top, it's a lot more of a mental game after like you have your mechanics down. So it becomes like, what strat leads to me winning this like fight in league or something? How do we approach this better to win? So it's a lot more mental exertion and thinking about the game like that instead of like running suicides. Or in soccer we would do we would run laps around the field and then do burpees but
Dang.
it's a lot of mental.
And Daniel, I'd love to have your take on it as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, I come from the same background. I played Premier Soccer for Orlando City. And
shoot.
so at the time, like, you know, obviously it's just crazy amounts of training. This was while I was in high school. I was playing for my high school varsity team as well. And then on top of that, I was also playing games. And I mean, I'm going to say this because of my experience, obviously, but the amount of time I had to put in games was significantly less than I had to put into sports, like actual sports like soccer. Not to say that, like, I still consider esports probably one of like the top like sports that's out there right now. Like the amount of effort and practice you put into this is you're obviously able to put more time into this than you are into like actual sports, because for actual sports you need dedicated space, you need times, you need tools, you need certain training methods. For this, for any game really, all you need is a computer and then internet access, and then boom, you have access to, you could watch videotapes, you could watch a bunch of pro players or analyses of different games, or you could play yourself, practice your aim. There's different things you could do, obviously. So it's a lot easier to practice and get better on esports rather than real sports and traditional sports.
I mean, you guys bring up so many points on this, on that aspect. Like, I mean, you talked about having access to technology. I mean, now internet is known as like a universal right to have internet, right? Especially in the first world. Talking about it, what do you guys think about this aspect? Because it was interesting when you were talking, and you were talking, like Scott, you were talking about mental exertion. Well, what do you guys think about this? Like, as far as like you're watching the NBA game, right? And NBA just came back on last week. A lot of people are sitting on that couch, and I don't want to offend anybody because it's totally fine. But if you're sitting on the couch, you're drinking beer, and you're setting your beer on your beer belly, and you're like, damn, I would have made that shot. You know what I mean? Or like, oh, I would have passed it and done this. And then you see like these guys who are pouring their heart out, you know, dunking, and then they're playing at the top level of the game. And I'm sitting, let's put me, because I do this all the time. I'm sitting there with my beer, and I'm like, man, I would have made that shot. You know, what do you guys think of? Is there a parallel as far as in esports? Because it's so easy for someone to be like, hey, I have a computer at home, I can download League, and like, fuck, I would have done that, right?
Yeah.
What do you guys think about this?
There's Same thing,
Go,
same
Danny.
parallel. It's like because I'm more familiar with FPS games, first-person shooters than MOBAs, but it's same thing. People, that think they're like, why are these guys getting paid the big bucks? Why are these guys on here? I could have shot that. I could have made the shot. I could have threw that smoke or whatever. Same thing. It's just people criticize, and they don't really show anything to improve or don't care to improve.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is people don't understand actually how difficult playing games at like the highest level is. And I think it you can draw the same parallel to like I don't think people understand how hard it is to be a professional basketball player and go up against other people who are like
Right.
6'9". Like I'm 5'7". I know for hell I couldn't do that. But like I don't think people understand the I can't even speak right now,
No
but
worries.
they don't understand how difficult it actually is. And they'll just be like, yeah, no, I could do that. And then they'll try it and be like, I can't actually do that. This is really fucking hard.
I think Scott and Daniel, as far as how did that competitive nature from sports that you guys both played soccer translate into playing games and playing games on the computer?
Pretty heavily. I played Premier Travel. So I was on like one of the best teams in Virginia. And when I started like playing League, all I wanted to do was get better and better and better. And I didn't really play casually because I had more fun playing ranked. I'd play casually with some friends or not, but like when I play alone, I'll just play ranked and just continue to try to get better. And that just like goes to every game. Like I played Rocket League for a little bit. I tried to be the best in that. Played CS:GO, tried to hit like top rank in that. So my competitive aspect with sports just went directly to esports. So
Dang.
It sounds like a mindset thing.
yeah.
Right.
Again,
I agree.
yes, same background. I guess I played Premier Travel for at the time it was FKK, Florida Craze Crush, and then later Orlando City. But it's again I guess maybe it came from that, but it's more than likely like your environment that you grew up in is I was raised in like a competitive household, so I had that mindset where I had to compete. I have to stay on top. I have to be the best, train, practice, and I guess obviously that Premier Travel thing helped me out with that because it gave me that knowledge and the ability to set a routine for myself that I could obviously set for myself and be able to improve every day. Or if I need to take a week off, I was able to make that judgment myself because of how much I played and was soccer, and it helped me be able to judge where I'm at and what I need to improve on.
That's pretty dope, you guys. I'd love to hear the background story of what made somebody. The other day I was at Publix, right? And while I was pushing the cart around, of course, I was wearing my mask, social distancing, all that. But I had a stream open on my phone, right? And I accidentally bumped into a lady's car, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, ma'am," because I wasn't paying attention. And she was like, "Oh, it's fine. Are you texting somebody?" And I was like, "No, I'm watching somebody play video games." Clip, and I was explaining to the lady that, "Hey, this is a professional gamer. It's like an e-athlete, right?" And she was like, she basically scoffed. She was like, huh, okay. And she's like, this guy's crazy. And then she's like, okay, have a great day. And she basically walked away. And the notion I want to ask you guys is this question, right? As far as people who are not the uninitiated, we'd like to call them, right? As far as them considering people as athletes, because, we consider you guys as athletes playing at the top of your game, someone who plays it as their bread and butter, who always looks to improve upon themselves. But someone who's uninitiated looks at, hey, this is just someone using a computer. Can you guys talk about this? Like, what do you guys think about this whole thing?
Yeah. So, I mean, again, there's obviously people haven't caught on yet. People don't understand. Here at UCF, at Esports at UCF, we're trying to, create that environment where our players are athletes. We're calling them athletes. We're trying to get other faculty to recognize them as athletes. We don't want to use the term players. We want to use the term athletes because that's what they are. And it's, again, it takes time. Obviously, when football, when soccer, when baseball, everything started out, people didn't really care. It was more of a casual thing. People didn't take it seriously until these top players started competing, and then leagues started forming, and they just recently became profitable within the past decade. And it's, you know, it's obviously in its early stage. Esports is there right now, and it's trying to take some games are trying to take the traditional approach towards leagues and setting up, for example, like Overwatch League. And then there's new different ways that they're setting up from a business perspective of trying to become profitable and more engaging and trying to get a bigger audience. Because again, it's an international game. Everybody, whoever you are, wherever you are, as long as you have an internet and a computer, you could watch or play. So that having that benefit, they're able to do so much more. And hopefully within the next couple of years, people are going to start recognizing that this is the next wave of sports.
That's pretty
Yeah.
insane. Scott, go ahead. Sorry, you were saying something?
Yeah, no, it's I've written a few papers for classes on this topic.
Oh, shoot, really? That's it.
Yeah, mainly like esports. Is it a sport? That whole discussion. But a lot of people, there's still this connotation that people who like play video games are just like in their mom's basement and whatnot. Like, I've heard that parallel that people try to draw, but it's like in reality, all of these like professional players are like, not only do they have to be like physically fit. I don't want to say fit because they're not going to be walking around with like huge muscles, and they're not going to look like an NBA player like LeBron James or something, but they do need to be like physically there because your mind can't operate like
Right.
peak performance if you're not like physically well.
Okay.
So a lot of these professional teams, like for example, Cloud9, they have a sports psychologist, they have a nutritionist, they have all these various things that maintain like what all these professional sports have. Like an NFL team, they're going to have a sports psychiatrist, they're going to have a nutritionist for their team, they're going to have all this other stuff, because they're competing at a very high level, and their body requires them to like be able to compete at this level.
That's
The biggest
For us, it's
the
our
big-
mind.
yeah, I was going to say the biggest difference is most of the esports like players, the professional players at the top, biggest physical toll is it's not really on your body, it's on your mind. There's a lot of mental, like, you know, issues that have been going around in the community, and people have been struggling mentally, and they've needed to, you know, take some time off, stop playing. For example, like recently Nitro from Team Liquid,
Mhm.
he stepped down, or and was let go, not only because the team wasn't performing well, but he mentally wasn't there. He wasn't able to keep up and keep going. So he needed to take a break, step down, and it's unfortunately a common occurrence because people just drain themselves out playing the same game repeatedly for hours on a day, and they take no breaks because they want to be the best.
This is pretty awesome what you guys are saying, Daniel and Scott. Because from my understanding, I'm kind of like an outsider looking in, and I wanted to ask you guys this question. Then, you guys run one of the biggest organizations in Central Florida when it comes to esports. We can all agree on that. How are you guys managing when this stuff comes up in your own organization? If you don't want to share, that's totally fine. But we'd love your how you guys handled something, because at the end of the day, you guys kind of run it like a business too, right? You guys have your deliverables that you guys have to meet, but you also have a certain standard that you guys have to uphold too. Have you guys ran into these problems when you guys are talking about your athletes and your teams?
So I guess this is more my area since I
Yeah,
manage
go
them, but we luckily haven't had any problems like that yet. We've had some personal issues with players, you know, having mental problems and having mental blocks, and they're just busy with school, they're busy with, you know, other extracurriculars, that they want to play, but they just don't have time or the mental capability to do so because of how draining it is. And we're trying to work on that. We've, you know, took some precautions with having substitutes and people to talk to, and we're hopefully creating a new wave of reassurance for our players, where our university will hopefully be able to help us out with providing hopefully sooner rather than later, but nutritionists, personal trainers, psychologists, and we're gonna try to see what we could do there. But it's not really there yet. We're not there where we want to be yet.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool that I mean, you guys have some of these experiences too. But I feel like I'm hogging the mic. I'm gonna let Nick take over a little bit, Nick, if you don't mind. I think the audience might be too tired of hearing my voice.
No, you're a great human being.
Oh, thank you, my friend.
A little while ago, we talked about some of the finer points of why one would become a professional gamer. But I want to know, like, it occurred to me that as somebody who picks up a basketball and they decide they want to be a professional basketball player one day, that's a more clear route than becoming a professional gamer. And I kind of wanted to know like more about what your take was on this, and then also I want to know kind of like what a normal collegiate circuit looks like. Like I know you talked about scrimmages, Scott, and things like that, but I want to know like is it kind of like how we expect like sports as per usual to be played?
So that's the one downside to esports at its current state. A lot of games don't have that clear like path to pro. For example, League of Legends, your path to pro is playing ranked, which you can do at your house. You climb the ladder. If you get high enough ranked, you might get picked up by like an amateur team. You play with that amateur team for a certain amount of time. And then if you perform well, then because it's franchised, so there are only 10 teams in North America that can field teams. They can field a LCS team, which is the League of Legends Championship Series. That's the highest league you can play in. And then they have an academy team for like LCS. And they can only field those two teams. And if you're good enough at the amateur scene and you're like stomping all the opponents, then maybe you get picked up for an academy team and then work your way up towards LCS. But there isn't like a clear path to pro, which is a little bit unfortunate because the scene is still developing and it's not being taken seriously in certain aspects like collegiate. There are some schools that have jumped on and actually understand it, like Maryville University, Harrisburg, UCI. They all have their esports program is in athletics, and they kind of understand a little bit more, or not understand it more, but take it a little bit more seriously. But like a collegiate circuit, we for like our leagues and stuff, specifically for League of Legends, we have the Collegiate League of Legends series. So that's hosted by Riot Games, the creator and like owner of League of Legends themselves. So they have 4 different conferences: Northwest, East, and it's geography based. So we have like Northwest, East, and South. And we're in the Southern Conference, and we play against schools from Georgia, Alabama, Louisiana, Texas, Florida, all the typical Southern states.
Okay.
And then you make playoffs in your conference, and it's just like a typical like I would say college football, but they don't have a traditional playoffs. Unfortunately, we didn't make it that one year, but it's very direct in the sense that you compete. You have a league. Week by week, you'll play a set games in your conference. You'll make conference playoffs. If you win conference playoffs, you'll go to the overall playoffs, and then there will be 4 teams in the conference playoff or the overall, and then the winner gets. Usually, it's just cash prize. Sometimes they dictate a scholarship money, but for the most part, it's cash prizing. So that's pretty nice for us college kids.
Right on. Daniel, do you have any thoughts on the subject, or was that?
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much how it is. I can speak from like Rainbow Six side about I guess this is actually more towards pretty much all of the tier 2 so there's actually I should explain this before, but the games and the professional play is split into tiers. So tier 1, if you're a tier 1 player, that means that you're playing it professionally. You're in the top leagues. All the leagues that you're playing in is tier 1 level. You're the highest level. Tier 2 is amateur, or is league has academy. That's where you're playing still professionally. It's just you're at a lower level, you're working up to tier 1. Then there's tier 3 and 4, so that's below. That's like amateur. You're trying to get noticed. You're trying to see if you get picked up to get to tier 2. But it's tier 3 and 4 are kind of you're just starting out. You're trying to get better. And a lot of problems with these leagues and these games and the developers, the way they set it up, is that they provide all this amazing support. There's all this crazy stuff happening for tier 1, and then tier 2, tier 3 just get dropped off, and there's no way to get picked up to tier 1. There's not enough done to help improve that level to where there's a path to pro. I can speak from like Rainbow Six. We've been asking for this, myself and like other players, obviously, for the past 2-3 years. We want to get them to broadcast tier 2 more, and they need to support tier 2 more. And unfortunately, it just hasn't happened yet. It might happen. Recently, there's been a couple stuff that's been changing and occurring that we're hoping get solved. But again, like for these traditional sports like football, like baseball, like basketball, is you play in high school, you get noticed, you play a travel team, you play on a premier team, and you get noticed, you get an offer for college, you go through college, or you don't, and you go straight into the scouting grounds, or you go straight into the draft, and you hopefully get picked up. There's a system in place, and you get noticed, you get moved up, you progress. And for esports, we're not there yet. We're hoping to get there, but there's nothing there. You're just most of the time it works is you play a lot like crazy, you get noticed, you get picked up, you go to tier 1, you play like tier 1 crazy, you play a lot, and then like you start falling off, you don't have enough time, you're not willing to commit, and then you drop off to like tier 2, tier 3, or you go to a college that has a varsity program that gives you a scholarship to play for them. That's been the most common approach that we've seen from pros. If they want to still compete, obviously there's other career paths that they could take, such as casting, or becoming coaches, or doing streaming or content creation full time. But there's no like set path where you get a degree and you get an education and then go into a draft. It unfortunately isn't at that point yet. So that's hopefully the next biggest step for esports to overcome, is become normalized within universities and within the nation or in the world, and establish that system where people can become professionals rather than just by random luck.
Right. And I got to say, now that you mentioned it, going to college and then becoming somebody who's, involved with esports, there's so many facets of the business side, or, the digital media side that goes into that. It's really impressive. I think that like it could be easily seen there could be a lot of benefit of investing inside people who are in college, of course, to, get them to go down that track. Let me see. I had another question here. What were some of the best events you participated in thus far?
You go.
Okay. All right. So personally, I've been to DreamHack Atlanta. That was probably one of the funnest events. We won DreamHack Atlanta there as our team, so that was fun. We also attended. I attended the Raleigh Major for Rainbow Six, and then that was pro players, so that was tier 1. But then they had tournaments like inside of it as well, and we played and we won that there. So we got the Acer Predator tournament that they were hosting. We won that event there.
Nice.
And a couple lands here in Florida locally set up by colleges like Florida Poly University hosted a tournament that we went there and won. It's it's kind of difficult to do college events. They're mostly online, so there's not a lot of stuff happening really in person. You mostly have to do external stuff. So the only event that I played in as like UCF was Florida Poly. The DreamHack one, it was part of us, and then a couple others, and then Raleigh, it was completely different team. It was people that I met through online professional play, and that's kind of the problem where there's currently collegiate and then there's external, like tier 2 play, where you're on a team for college and you're on a team for amateur organization. And that's kind of been the traditional approach for players in college. But then again, there's like universities and colleges like Maryville or like the UCI, or there's another one in Canada, I can't remember the name, St. Thomas, I think, where they're fully funded varsity program. The players that they get are really good, so they play college and stick as a team together for those other events. And it's really good for them because they build chemistry. They want to play. They're getting paid to basically go play because they're getting full ride scholarships.
How is I mean, I'd love to hear from a player's perspective. How is it coming up to the event? The nerves, the sweats, talking to people, getting your mouse and keys warmed up. Is that even a thing? And then after the event, like going back to the hotel room or going back to how is that dynamic? Can you give us that as far as, outsiders looking in? Can you give us a sense of what that is?
I think it really depends on the person, at least for nerves. I know whenever I start a tournament, I might be nervous at like the first like few minutes before it starts, but once it starts, like I'm perfectly fine. There's like zero nerves. I going back to Nick's question a little bit and drawing into yours, I was in my favorite event that I went to was Full Sail's Battle for the Boulevard. Mainly because of the production quality. It was in their new like esports arena, the Fortress, and it was a show match between UCF and Full Sail. UCF won.
Go Knights!
Yeah, it wasn't very close, but it was fun being in that very professional environment that it felt like you were in like that like pro studio. You were in like the stadium and whatnot.
The Full Sail Armada is really, really nice.
Yeah, it's a really nice facility. We're hoping that maybe one day UCF will build one similar, but
guys, let's do it.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Let's go lobby, man. Let's go lobby in Tallahassee. But sorry, go ahead, Scott.
But for like rituals and stuff, we'll for league team after a LAN win, after like a tournament win nearby, we'll all go to Easy Bond. I don't know if you've ever been there.
Hell yeah.
Oh, yeah, we'll go to Easy
$25, Korean barbecue and sushi, bro. That's the move.
Yep, we'll go there, and for the people who are 21 and up, they'll drink. I mean, I'm 21, and so I'll drink with them, but we'll just go there, hang out, and it's mainly for tournaments that are just like like it's over that day. So at the end of the tournament, we'll unwind. But I went to another one that I liked is I used to play Smash Bros a lot. So back when I lived in Virginia, I went to Super Smash Con, the first one, and that was me and my friends. We drove up to, I believe it was in Alexandria, and we got a hotel. We played in day one. A few of us qualified for day two. A few of us did not. So the ones that didn't, they were just like chilling, having a good time. And mind you, I was in high school, so we didn't do much, but they like stayed. We really all stayed up and just kind of had a good time. Because first and foremost, you're at the event to have a good time. Like you're also there to win, but the events are there to be enjoyed. So we had a good time.
Yeah, and it's just the experience. Like the experience you get at those LAN events or when you go to like compete in person is just one of the best things you could experience, because for some people you're meeting your team for the first time. Because well, if you're not like a college or a collegiate team, but a lot of the time. So for example, when we went to like Raleigh, me and my boys, I've only seen like two of them, and we all finally met there, and it was just one of the best like weekends we spent there. We had a great time. And as for your question about like traditions or stuff like that, Rainbow Six team here at UCF also goes to Easy Bond. It is one of our traditional spots. Every semester we make playoffs, and every time we make playoffs, we all go to Easy Bond. We have a good cookout. I'm the only one that's under 21. I'm 19, so everybody else is drinking, and I'm just sitting there. But
The responsible one, the
yeah,
GM, right?
yep, basically. So I'm just sitting there, but we're all just the times and memories you get from those events is just some of the best stuff. There's like every player has their own obviously personal traditions that they do before game, pre-game, like whether it be food, whether it be like a certain training regime. Some people practice for like 30 minutes before, some people just go straight in. I personally practice for like 45 minutes before, just hop in some aim trainers or like a terrorist hunt for Rainbow Six Siege and just get my aim ready, get some leans in. It's pretty much what I do. But it varies. Some people don't really care for it. They don't have that, superstition. But it's mostly the fun that you gain out of it.
Damn, like I love hearing that from you guys because like I said, I keep saying it, but like from an outsider looking in, like it's pretty cool to know what it feels like. I want you guys to kind of, if you guys could, give your advice to someone who's just starting out, whether it's like a 12-year-old listening to this who's just playing video games and just getting good. I mean, some of the 12-year-olds out there are probably really good already, or even like the 40-year-old that's like about to leave his or her job and like, fuck it, I'm gonna become a professional gamer, right? Because gaming is open for everyone. I know, it's a very inclusive community, but it's also very easy to get into, very easy to find your niche. Can you guys talk more about that and what your advice would be?
Yeah, so the biggest thing, it depends like game by game, because some games don't have ranked, but they do have like a pro scene. But for games that have a ranked ladder, your best bet is grinding out the ranked ladder, playing just like you would grind out like practices for soccer or something. Just play ranked games, try to see what you can do to improve. Take the time to watch your VODs. The most improving you can do is by looking at what your mistakes are. A lot of people they'll blame their teammates when they make a mistake, but they won't actually look at themselves. So just playing the ranked, because in reality, like the sad reality for esports is you're not going to get picked up by a team unless you're high ranked. That's just how the scene is right now, because there isn't that true path to pro. So you have to grind out the ranked ladder, get as high ranked as you can, look for opportunities to play in tournaments, try to get a team together. Even if you're like low ranked, you can play in like, there's some leagues that do just like specific ranked brackets. So like they'll have like a gold and platinum one or like a diamond bracket. Try to get that experience to take that next step to get higher ranked and whatnot.
Yeah. So I could give like experience for FPS wise, mostly Siege, but I did some CS as well. But biggest thing is just practice. You got to just work on your aim, work on your call outs, map knowledge. You have to be able to reflect upon yourself and know that you fucked up. Like what you did wrong is on you. Like you can't, like Scott was saying, just don't blame teammates. It's on you. Being able to know that and realize that it's your fault. What can you do better is the best way to improve. And a lot like it's different in Siege. You don't really need to play ranked to get picked up by a team. A lot of it is mechanical skill as well as connections. Biggest thing is networking. Just as in real life, it's on esports or anything you do really. It's all about connections you make. Knowing people, knowing teams that are looking for players, knowing what teams are good, and what players are not toxic and they're respectful and they understand that you're trying to improve. Working with them, that's key to everything. Finding that team where you're a solid core. When I say core for like FPS games, that means 3. Typically, you have a solid core of 3, and then you pick up 2 players. Sometimes they're that good where they have a solid 5, and they're always working together. But the core of 3 should always be like a rule where there's 3 players that are standing by each other no matter what together. And having that solid core of 3 and being in that core is very important. And if you can get in there, that's your key to success.
Guys, there you have it. From the players that actually play day in day, and what you guys said was really sound. I mean, it kind of transitions. I mean, Daniel, I love that you transitioned a little bit out of esports to the future looking onward, because let's face it, like talking statistics wise, I mean, everyone knows it here. Making it to the professional gaming level it's far to none. It's possible. Like, I'm not gonna lie, me and Nick are optimists at heart because we have to be, because we own a small business and we're entrepreneurs. But being optimistic is so important. Even as far as an athlete, but we all know that making it to the professionals and making it big in that avenue is slim to none. But being optimistic, there's so many other avenues you could take, right? You can become a content creator. You can become, a manager, or you can get into the finances of esports. You can, after you get off a game, you can become a day trader. I mean, whatever. But like, can you guys talk more about some of the optimism first of all, and some of the other opportunities? Let's say you don't make it big as an athlete. What's the other avenues that people can take?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people don't understand that these professional organizations, these teams, behind the players is a full-blown company. They have I'm just going to talk about Cloud9 because I bleed blue and white for my team. They hire, like I was saying earlier, they have the sports psychologist, the nutritionist. They have a data scientist who works with their League of Legends team. They have video editors, graphic designers, social media managers. There are all these different avenues that they have to connect their players with their audience. And there's a lot of occupations, both professionally or mainly professionally, that you can partake in the scene. You don't have to just be a player to be in the esports scene. There's a lot of people who get in as a fan. They play a game. They're very passionate about it. They want to take that next step to become a part of the esports scene, and they'll network with other people. I'm in Evil Geniuses. They have a Discord for Collegiate leaders, so we network with Evil Geniuses staff, and they give us advice and whatnot. But there's a lot more opportunities than people think. Everybody sees the surface where it's you have a coach, you have a team, there's a CEO, a manager, but behind all that, there's content creation, there's all this other stuff that keeps the team together, keeps the company together, because in reality, these organizations are companies. But yeah.
That's pretty sick. And in kind of in a way, you guys are doing that with your organizations, of course, right? Because I mean, I'd love to see it. I mean, maybe not now, but in a couple of years when you guys are creating jobs in the Central Florida area, right? And you guys are, hiring or cultivating, more of the talent at UCF, because UCF has, we love our college. We have some of the best graduates that come out of the area, maybe even the world, and that's amazing that you guys talk about that and speak about that, because it's so important as far as when people see a future. Because when you talk to the older generation, I'm not trying to generalize here, but sometimes they don't really see the avenues that can be found in gaming, and it's kind of frustrating for us, right? And I kind of wanted to ask you guys this. I might have asked Daniel this when we first met. What did your parents think when you guys said, "Hey"? Did you guys ever say, "Hey, I'm gonna really go into this gaming thing, and just that's all I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna go to college. This is it." And if that ever happened, what was the conversation like with your parents? We'd love to know if you guys can speak on that.
Do you want to go, Danny?
I guess. So I had more of a little darker side. My parents aren't really understanding of this in the past, as they're pretty good right now on the topic, because I've tried to get it into their brains for the past 4 or 5 years. But when I started off junior year of high school, I was getting somewhere. I was making some money. I was playing for a team, and I had a couple contracts that were sent out. And my biggest contract came my senior year. And at the time my senior year, I was all academics. I stopped playing soccer because I was focusing on academics. I had perfect grades, everything. And the amount of time I was putting into games obviously started hurting and affecting my grades in high school. but to me, it was worth it because of the time that I spent and where I was getting was, this showing a future for me. And that contract came in, I remember, and it was for a decently sized organization. And the team was doing pretty well in tier 2 at the time in Challenger League for Rainbow. And I remember getting the contract in my email, and I showed it to my parents, and I'm like, this, like, I was only 17 at the time. I was 2 months into 17, so I couldn't sign it legally. I had no control over it. I needed a co-sign on it. So I remember telling them, like, I have a contract, like this could, like, it was a salary. I was getting somewhere. I had an organization backing me. I could play. Obviously I'd need to balance my schedule out, and it wasn't able to convince them. So I lost my contract. I lost my partnership with the organization. I couldn't get a co-sign on that contract, so that contract expired. So the team went on without me, and kept playing. Now, I was devastated at the time. Obviously it sucks losing out on something that could potentially change you and your life that you're in, and it was devastating to me, but I got through it. I over time tried to teach my parents, help them explain, like, what I'm doing, like, what it's gotten to the point where starting to learn even the name of the game I play. They're I've trying to get that into their system in their head, and they've begun to take some interest. They started telling other family members, some of their friends, like, look what he's doing, look at all these, because I did like podcasts before with CEO of Disrupt Gaming. They're like, oh my god, look at this. He's getting interviewed here and there. They're getting big, and I guess that's good for them to start take interest. Sucks that they only start taking interest once stuff starts going my way, right? And stuff starts getting bigger. But either way, like, I talked to them, I think it was like last week, about like what I'm doing, and they said it's great and all, but they still prefer that I focus on academics, and this is just a secondary thing. This isn't something I should be focusing my full time for. And obviously, everybody's parents are different. You're not going to have parents that completely understand, or some parents are going to completely back their child. They're going to understand 100%. And it sucks, but that's the way it is. So you got to find a way around it, or you got to, try to sit them down and explain, have a talk with them. And it's difficult for those that have never had that serious talk with their parents, but if you're really interested in pursuing it, it's something that needs to be done, and you got to figure ways around it. Biggest help that I could give you, or advice that I could give you, is find people that are in this scene that are successful, and have them talk with your parents. So I had the general manager of the team try to talk with them. I had a couple sponsors reach out, and then they're like, look what your son could be capable of. Like, this is what could be going on. That right there was just enough to get them interested and be like, like, take a look into it. So that would be my biggest advice for anybody that's trying to teach their parents or their family or whoever it be, is have somebody in that scene that is well known. They don't have to be well known, but that is established in that scene. They know what they're talking about. They have knowledge of it, and they're able to communicate effectively.
Wow. Yeah. Scott, I want to let you go, but I just have
fine.
something to comment on Danny's story. Danny, that's amazing to where you can, but it's great to see where you are now and what the value you're providing to other people who might have gone through a similar story, right? Because you can speak on it and kind of mentor them coming forward, and we love seeing that too. I mean, Nick, do you remember the day? I mean, I guess it's not relevant for you as much as Nick, but I remember the day when I told my folks, like, hey, I'm an aerospace engineer by trade, but I don't want to go be an aerospace engineer. I want to own my own company. And they're like, okay, how are you going to pay rent, right? Like that, they go through the safety net. They're like, okay, how do you pay rent? Right? Where are you going to go buy food? And those are all good questions. There's necessary questions. And going being an entrepreneur is like, they look at it like I'm playing blackjack in a casino, right? But then we look at it like, okay, we're visionaries in it. And it's so important to have that conversation with our folks, because at the end of the day, they brought us up, right? I don't know I can't speak on anyone's behalf, but they brought me up, they fed me, they instilled these teachings into me. I'm so grateful But it's amazing to hear that story across. But Scott, I'd love to hear your story too, and if you ever had that conversation with your folks.
Yeah. Luckily, my parents were a lot more accepting of my like passions. I I've gone through various stages. I'm sure everybody who comes to college goes through like, what do I want to do? I came in as a computer science major. I'm a stats major now. I went through 2 other majors before getting to this. And even now, I don't even know if I want to work in data science. I'm passionate about it, but I'm also passionate about esports and whatnot. But my mom and my dad were always happy that I had something that I enjoyed doing and was passionate about. I haven't been at that point in the game that I play that I can like go to the very like next level, but they've been all for what I'm doing as long as I'm also maintaining my academics to make sure that like I have another option in the event that it doesn't work out or whatnot. But like the other option is you can adapt your career to something. Like I was a computer science major. I'm stats major now. I want to go into data analytics, but specifically I want to work with esports orgs and try to like see what they're doing. Like Cloud9 has a data scientist and a group of data analysts to kind of like dig deeper into their league team and bring more of like a stats perspective instead of just like looking at VODs and like instead of just doing the eye test that all these that you do in like traditional sports and just like seeing what's going on, actually like looking deep into the numbers. And traditional sports are going more into that as well. But it is adaptable if you aren't able to pursue that like high level or your parents aren't backing that like career choice of becoming like a professional esports athlete and whatnot.
Scott, that's amazing too. Like, I want to hone in on what you just said. And Nick, I'm sorry if I'm hijacking real quick, but I just love the stuff that Scott and Daniel are giving us because, like, we can have a 5-hour conversation. They'll get tired of us real quick. But the data analysis part, right, of Cloud9, that's freaking insane, bro. I mean, let me know if I'm wrong here, right? Let's say in League you're going through a specific maneuver. Are these guys like checking how many clicks per minute? What area of the region of the game that you guys are clicking on, and then analyzing that data. I mean, can you explain a little bit more how deep they go into the scientific level of this?
They'll go a bit more. They'll go a bit deeper. They'll go into there are 150 or 100 and like it's almost 150 champs you can pick in League. They'll go and see, okay, if we picked this like champion combo, because there are like 30 in each role and there are 5 roles. So they'll go, we picked these 5 champions and it went up against these 5 champions. Does this just lose outright if we pick these 5 against these 5? What could we do inside the game to make it better? They'll look at their losses and see there's like vision in the game. So you can buy wards to see the map, see more of the map. And it allows you to like play with it's very deep analytics in the sense that they'll look at a lot of stuff to see how they can win a game, how they could win faster, and various stuff. Like specifically for League, the biggest thing is drafting. So before you even start the game, you have to pick a team comp, and drafting is kind of like 4D chess in a sense, where there are 150 champs to pick from. You get 5 bans on each side, so you can ban a champion and nobody can pick it. And you pick in a rotation. So it'll be one team picks 1, the other team picks 2, then you pick 2, then they pick 1, so then you're at 3-3. They'll ban and then pick their last 2 champs. And you have to look for the counters and all that stuff. So they'll look in to see what champions perform best in this like situation. What are their like best counterparts, and it's a lot deep. It's a lot deeper than just looking at like where they're looking, like they're tracking their eyes and stuff, and they go really deep into the analytics.
That's freaking cool, bro. I wanted to give Nick a chance to say something as well. Nick, my co-host, my beautiful co-host. The mic is yours, my friend.
All right. Let's see. All right, real quick. You know, you guys have a pretty star-studded past, I would say, in terms of like the things that you've won. You mentioned Collegiate Star League. That's a huge deal. I was going to say, which games are you looking forward to competing in next?
So, as in the organization or us?
In the organization.
Okay. So we're at kind of a point where we don't really want to take any more teams on. But what we're doing is we at the end of the year we obviously look into the analytics. So of whether our teams are providing numbers, how well they're doing, whether the league they're in is providing numbers, how many numbers, like how much are we gaining off of each team, and we weigh that versus other games. So the biggest example is right now Valorant coming out. We don't want to go into a completely brand new game so without any backing or any support or any knowledge of what the game is going to be like in the future. So something like that we don't really want to step into before we at least give it a period of time to expand and grow. So at the end of this year, we're going to hopefully look into our games and see maybe if we drop a game and replace it with Valorant because of how big it's gotten. But I'm excited for if Valorant gets bigger and grows. I've been playing Valorant a bit, grinding that out of it. And it looks interesting. It's definitely something that might be a strong counter towards Counter-Strike. So far, I haven't really seen it coming close, but might be.
Right. Are there any games in particular that you feel like you guys are going to be like really killing it in the next season on?
CS:GO for sure.
CS:GO for sure.
Our CS:GO team is nuts. We lost 2 good players, but I'm sure we'll get 2 like just as good. But our as Daniel was talking about a while ago, core 3 and FPS. Our core 3 right now is pretty solid.
Nice.
Our CS team, our Rocket League team.
Yeah, our Rocket League team actually. Yeah, they'll be even better than they were last year, this past year, because we're getting a freshman who used to play in an amateur team in that tier 2 scene. So, but now he's starting college and is focusing more on his academics. But now he's also playing with us, so it gives him that opportunity to still play competitively while being in college.
Well, that's awesome. I'll definitely be keeping an eye out on what you guys are doing. Let's see. Is there any collegiate gaming news or current events that we should know about, or any resources that we should stay plugged into?
As for leagues, they're so just spread out, right? Each is individually like linked. So like Play VS, if you've heard of them, does Fortnite, and then like Rocket League is hosted by Psyonix and their own stuff. Then Rainbow Six Siege recently just got picked up by Ubisoft officially.
Right.
So we're getting our own collegiate league. And then what else? League is by Riot. So there's no real like one like central news station that does like broadcast all of it. And seeing as though how small the collegiate scene is right now, it's kind of difficult to keep up with. But I think there's a lot of Twitch and Twitter pages and streams that well, not more so streams, but podcasts that like to cover some collegiate news.
Right on. Well, thank you for telling us about those. Sharing.
Yeah, that question is sorry to interrupt, Nate. That question is more for us because we're like internet hounds. We love information, so I appreciate that. But sorry, Nick, you were saying something.
I was going to say I'm going to hand it off to you for the ending questions, my friend.
Woo, woo, woo. Yeah. Thank you. Actually, it's funny you mentioned player versus, Daniel. I was at the Forbes Under 30 event in Detroit, and I met the CEO, the founder, Delane. He was really cool. He probably doesn't remember me, but that's a conversation for another day, my friends.
He's a good guy. He's been helping us out quite a bit.
Oh, shoot, really? Look at that.
Yeah, he's been working with us a lot.
That's
It's been
insane.
really nice.
Nick, bro, we got to get plugged in with these guys. These guys are going to the top, and maybe we can, hang on the coattails a little bit,
I can verify that they're much better at gaming than I am. I'd be watching them play, I get at least like 1/8 good.
It's funny. After this interview, me and Nick have to write a report for this incubator that we're a part of, this Techstars incubator that we're part of for the company. But then after that, we're just going to be playing video games all night, just drinking some wine. So it's going to be pretty cool. So we're going to see if what Nick is saying is true. You know what I mean? I want to know a little bit more as far as the current events. How did the pandemic affect esports at UCF? How did it affect the way you guys ran things? I know you guys kind of started recently, but can you guys talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, that's Scott.
Yeah, so luckily, because we're in the esports space, we don't have to meet in person. It is nice to be able to put like your gamer name to a face and actually like meet you in person, but we've been able to host events and garner a community just over Discord and online with Twitter. Like we opened up our Discord in May, and we have over 500 members now. And we've been hosting like watch parties. We partnered with Cloud9 to host their watch parties for their League of Legends team. And I had some giveaways and whatnot. But luckily we're able to function as normal. Unfortunately, we won't be able to in the fall have like in-person like general body meetings and just like show that we're like actual people and not just voices over the internet. And it limits our events a little bit in the fall specifically. We're hoping that in the spring things start to clear up a little bit and we can hold events in a larger capacity. But for the most part, all of our like events are going to be online. We have some stuff in the works for some fun events. Unfortunately, we can't do like LAN events where people in the past would bring their PCs. We'd go into the Pegasus Ballroom and run tournaments, but we're hoping we can do that sooner rather than later.
Ding, ding, ding. It's finally time for our shameless plug. As you guys know, the State of the Game podcast is brought to you by FLUIX LLC. FLUIX LLC, we provide easy, powerful, and state-of-the-art wall-mounted computers for gamers and enthusiasts alike. Go check us out at fluixengineering.com. Sorry, guys, I got to keep the lights on, but the next question, we can keep on moving on. What's next for esports at UCF, and how can we help if there's any way we can?
Yep. So, I mean, there's a lot going on. We've got so much stuff planned. We're working with a lot of people. It looks really bright and interesting. Hopefully, stuff that we have up and coming planned comes out in the fall. If not fall, then in the spring. But there's definitely a lot of interesting stuff going on, and it's a lot of work. But we're all excited. All the officers, all the players are hyped to see the new esports at UCF come out of this. As for you could help, there's anything, just support, just cheering our teams on. Anything you want to do is all helpful.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, that's dope, you guys. Scott, sorry, did you want to say anything? I didn't
Oh
know.
no, it's just supporting our players. They'll play in these tournaments and practice for hours. Some of the tournaments due to Collegiate don't have high viewership, and having those our fans and whatnot come in and like support our players is pretty good for them.
That's insane. And, me and Nick kind of put Orlando on our backs, and it seems that you guys are too. We'd love to show support more on the local side, and we could talk more of that off mic. But we'd love to be plugged in with you guys if you guys would have us. It's just an honor to have you guys on our podcast, of course, and we appreciate your time. Before we sign off the State of the Game podcast, I wanted to give you guys 30 seconds to do any shameless plugs or talk about anything that some of our viewers can know about. So give it away. I'm giving away you guys. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Shameless plug. Follow our organization on Twitter and soon to be Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch. It's all Esports at UCF. No spaces. Join our Discord. You can find that in our Twitter bio. And stay tuned for Monday. We have some exciting stuff.
This Monday is going to be big. We love obviously our communities around here in Central Florida, as well as just Florida itself or international. You guys just hop on, join the community, come in. We welcome everybody. Our Discord, our social media stuff. Any companies out there that are interested, feel free to email us at esports@ucf at gmail.com. Other than that, I mean, we've loved being on here. Thank you for having us. We had a great time.